Hey there. Today I'm going to refocus so that we're ready to heal our allies. We're going to be looking at a couple iconic healing spells from D&D, which I chose Cure Wounds over Healing Word because Cure Wounds does a D8 of healing in comparison to the D4 of Healing Word, which is more in line with the heal spell from Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Speaking of, that is the spell from Pathfinder. And for DC20, we're going to talk about the heal spell. So, first, looking at the D&D Cure Wounds spell is an action. It heals 1d8 per spell level of the spell slot used, plus the ability modifier. I've assumed starting out at level 1 an ability modifier of +3, and as the character levels, I've increased its ability modifier, but you'll see that in the chart when we flip over. So looking at the chart here, we see that the D&D Cure Wounds spell at level 1 will heal for an average of 8 hit points. At level 5, 18 hit points. At level 10, 28 hit points. At level 15, 41 hit points. And at level 20, 46 hit points. A couple of important things to note about the D&D version of Cure Wounds. We're assuming that you're using the highest available spell slot to cast this spell, and D&D's highest level spell slot is 9th level. The next one that we wanted to look at is actually a bonus for you guys. We're going to look at the D&D 2024 version of Cure Wounds. This one is enhanced in that it does 2d8 per spell slot level plus ability modifier. So it's an extra d8 per spell slot level, and when we look at the chart, you'll see the increased healing available through this spell. The average healing at level 1 is 12. The average healing at level 5 is 22. Level 10 is 50. At level 15 is 77. And at level 20 is 86. Same exact idea as the 2014 version. We're assuming you're using the highest level spell slot available to you, and D&D capping out at a 9th level spell slot. The next one that we're going to look at is Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The heal spell in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we're going to assume is cast as a 2-action version, which is the most common way that the heal spell is cast. When cast this way, it provides 1d8 plus 8 per spell slot level used. It heightens plus 1d8 and 8 for every level. Pathfinder, though, has 10th level spell slots, so you'll see a higher jump when we get to 20th level. So looking at the numbers, the Pathfinder 2nd Edition heal spell will do an average of 13 hit points at level 1, 38 hit points at level 5, 63 hit points at level 10, 100 hit points at level 15, and 125 at level 20. So the next spell to look at is the DC20 heal spell. I'll take a little bit longer on this one because it is new to most people. Unlike the other versions of healing spells, this one you have to make a spell check. The DC is 10, so you roll your d20 and add your spellcasting spell check modifier, which at level 1 is +4, just as an example, and that will scale up as you go. If you succeed on a DC 10, it heals for 3 hit points. Each 5 that you succeed by is an additional hit point, so at 15, 20, 25, and so on. If you're touching the person that you're healing, it's an additional 1 hit point. If you fail, you only heal for 2 hit points. And if you critically succeed with a 20 on your die roll, it's an additional 2 hit points of healing. So the spell is very dynamic, and the ranges of what it can heal uh, span a broad range. There's also some mana point enhancements, and when we look at upcasting this heal spell, the one that we're going to really care about is Bolster, where every mana point that you spend is an additional 3 hit points healed. We're not going to really care too much about the quick heal, which is 1 mana point to reduce the action point cost by 1. So looking at the DC20 numbers, we have at level 1 an average healing of 5, at level 5 11 hit points, at level 10 18 hit points, at level 15 28 hit points, and at level 20 34 hit points. So a couple of important distinctions with the DC20 version of heal is I used a baseline on the D20 of an average 10.5 rounded up to 11, plus the spell check modifier, and that's how I figured out what the base healing due to the D20 roll would be, and then added the 3 extra hit points per extra mana spent. And of course, following the mana spend limit for DC20, that means you can spend mana equal to half your level. So at level 5, for example, you could spend 3 mana on a spell, 1 to cast heal, 2 for the additional hit points for bolster. I'll also say at this point, there's a lot of charts. I didn't really go into depth explaining them, but if you want, it's a good idea maybe to screenshot them and refer to them later. But I also have one big comparison chart at the end. So, speaking of the comparison chart, here is the comparison chart. There's one other important thing to note here is the average fighter HP. So, it would be easy enough to just look at the healing numbers and say Pathfinder 2nd Edition is clearly the winner. It heals 13 to 125 hit points depending on the spell slot level. And DC20 is clearly the loser because it only heals from 5 to 34 hit points. But the better comparison is out of how many hit points these spells heal at each level, what percentage of a character's hit points are they restoring? So what I did is I created a fighter for each system with similar statistics so that they are all baseline pretty much the same, with the differences in how many hit points they get. For example, just briefly, the Pathfinder one has a set amount of hit points that it gets every level. The D&D one gets an average of a D10 every level, and the DC20 version gets a bonus hit point most levels. First, let's just look at the D&D 2014 Cure Wounds. It's interesting how it starts off very strong at 67% of the maximum fighter's HP. So the fighter has 12 hit points. Average healing on Cure Wounds at level 1 is 8. But the scaling is absolutely atrocious on the 2014 D&D Cure Wounds, dropping down to 43% at 5th level, 29% at 10th level, 26% at 15th level, and a dismal 22% at 20th level. When we compare that to what Wizards of the Coast has done with D&D 2024, we see an amazing 100% healing at first level. And then it does tail off. However, it never tails off as bad as the 2014 version, handling 52% of max HP at level 5, 53% of max HP at level 10, 49% of max HP at level 15, and 42% of max HP at level 20. Looking at the Pathfinder 2nd Edition version, we start out pretty strong with 65%, 56% at level 5, 46% at level 10, 46% at level 15, and 43% at level 20. When we look at the DC20 healing spell, we see it starts off behind all of the others at only 50% healing, but it jumps in comparison to all of the others, increasing to 65% at level 5, 67% at level 10, 74% at level 15, and even capping out at level 20 at 71%. This is probably largely due to the lower hit points in DC20 and how the scaling is very strong in DC20, giving you 3 additional hit points per spell per mana point spent. When we look at the final rankings, it's important to note how I scored these. So I gave 4 points to the system with the best percentage of hit points healed, 3 points to the system in second place, 2 points to the system in third place, and 1 point to the system in last place. So when we look at the rankings at level 1, we have D&D 2024 coming in first place with 4 points, D&D 2014 surprisingly with 3 points, Pathfinder 2nd edition with 2 points, and then DC20 losing this category with only 1 point. But when we get to level 5, things change, and DC20 takes the lead and maintains it all the way through, with at level 5 Pathfinder coming in second, D&D 2024 coming in third, and then D&D 2014 coming in last. And D&D 2014 will come in last for the rest of this. So the important distinctions is going to be Pathfinder 2nd edition and D&D 2024. So when we look at 10th level, we have DC20 at the top, D&D 2024 in second, and Pathfinder 2nd edition with third. And 15th level, we have DC20 at first, D&D 2024 in second, and Pathfinder 2nd edition in third. And at 20th level, DC20 in first place, and then a tie for second and third. So I awarded 2.5 points to each of them. And the final rankings are DC20 winning this, being the best heal spell for the amount of the percentage of health restored based on characters' hit points with 17 points. Second place going to D&D 2024 with 14.5 points. Pathfinder 2nd edition coming in third place with 11.5 points. And then D&D 2014 coming in last place with only 7 points. And one more thing to mention with the fighter is the total number of hit points that each fighter has at the levels that we were talking about, and some interesting distinctions in the totals. So for level 1, the D&D fighter has 12 hit points. The Pathfinder 2nd edition has 20 hit points, and the DC20 version has 10 hit points. At level 5, the D&D fighter with 42 hit points, Pathfinder 2nd edition 68 hit points, and DC20 17 hit points. At 10th level, we have 95 hit points for D&D, 138 hit points for Pathfinder 2nd edition, 27 hit points for DC20. At level 15, we have 153 hit points for the D&D fighter, 218 for the Pathfinder 2nd edition fighter, and the DC20 fighter with 38 hit points. And at 20th level, we have D&D fighter, 201 hit points, Pathfinder 2nd edition, 288 hit points, DC20, 48 hit points. Big difference between DC20 and the others. I would say Coach has fulfilled his mission to keep the hit points on the lower end. For the difference between D&D and Pathfinder, the biggest thing is that D&D is having the fighter roll a d10 and take that or the average, which I've just gone with the average, where Pathfinder Second Edition is just giving a D or giving 10 hit points. The other thing is that Pathfinder is giving those ancestry hit points at level 1, making that big difference with 20 hit points at level 1.
Hey guys, it's Allie with Roll With Us DMs. Gary's about to start Menace Under Otari on July 8th at 8 o'clock p.m. If anyone would like to join, it's only 2 sessions, so it's not much of a time commitment, but it's a great starter module for learning how DC20 works. So if you're interested, just click the link. Have a great day, guys.